Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. This video comes from NYPD. There is no spokesperson for this video. No public information officer giving an explanation about what's going on or anything like that. This is an incident that occurred on August 30th, 2022. New York police went to serve an arrest warrant on a guy by the name of Elvin James, age 22, who had a warrant for attempted murder. They conducted this arrest. During the arrest, after getting him in cuffs, they found that he had a gun and 20 oxycodone pills. During this arrest, his sister was with him. She interfered with police and assaulted police. She was also arrested. And then his girlfriend, Tamani Crum, age 19, approached the scene after he was in cuffs, after he was standing up on his feet. So the arrest and everything had been going on, and it was after this, after everything's done, he's standing there, and she comes up, acting belligerent, active, aggressive and hostile, interfering with what's going on, assaulting a peace officer, and then an officer strikes her, and she goes down. And of course, people are calling this excessive force, police brutality kind of bullshit. And NYPD has released the body cam footage from this incident to show what's going on, because unfortunately, what happens is people make up these wild ass stories, and there's people who are probably saying that the police beat her down, like it was a beating, like as soon as she went down to the ground, they continued to beat her, insinuating that kind of shit. So NYPD, to disprove any bullshit lies and myths, have released the body cam footage saying, hey, this is what happened. She brought this shit upon herself. She quite literally met the definition of fuck around and find out. So we'll watch the video and I'll go into it. So here we go. So this is the first footage they show. I think this could have come last. I think the other footage they show should have shown first. So you can see in the background right behind him, I believe that is his sister. Now this also requires some background information about where they're at. They're in the Harlem area, very, very dangerous neighborhood. This is the 32nd Precinct. Literally right around the corner, not too long ago, 2 police officers were murdered around the corner. So it's a very violent part of New York, very, very dangerous neighborhood. There was something else. Let's see here. Yeah, in this article from New York Times, the 32nd Precinct, where this detective works, has long struggled with street violence. 2 officers were killed in January, right around the corner. That's about it that the article mentions, but very dangerous area. Notice there is a very large police presence here, lots of officers. The serving of the arrest warrant, so I don't know if this was a thing where they knew exactly where he was and they all went down there to serve it, or someone was patrolling, spotted him, called in the cavalry, and then they came and served it. I have no idea how this transpired, but this was obviously something that they knew before going into this, that they were going to need people, and there's multiple of them there, and that is a good thing. I could only imagine if it was just 2 or 3 of them there trying to effect this arrest, and this crowd going apeshit crazy on them. Stop!
Relax.
Okay. So. Like I said, literal definition of fuck around and find out. Yeah. Alright, so he gave her multiple verbal commands to get back. This was an incident where he's already in cuffs, he's just standing there. She comes up well after the incident and wants to get involved in this and interfere with what's going on. She's been given multiple verbal commands to get back. He starts with trying to guide her away. He parries her away from the incident, latching onto her arm and pulling her back, and she resists. And she is the one who strikes at him and uses her hands to strike him. And she does that. He pushes her back, and she strikes again. And he takes action. He takes appropriate action. Very appropriate action. All he needed was one hit, and she went down, and she was done. She suddenly realized that she did not want to fuck around anymore. She suddenly realized that, hey, there's consequences to my actions, and I keep acting like this, bad shit's going to happen. There's nothing excessive about what went on there. Now, if he had knocked her down and she was completely dazed and then got on top of her and pinned her arms down and then just started wailing on her face, beating the crap out of her, yeah, that would be excessive. But what he did, perfectly acceptable. A great way to de-escalate the situation. You know, everyone talks about de-escalation and thinks that it's contained to just words. That de-escalation is like some type of master negotiating skill. Like you're going to be fucking Kevin Spacey off the movie Negotiator. Like you're going to be able to talk people out of everything. No, that's not the case. That's unrealistic, and that is preached by people who have no real world experience in anything. They've never fucking had to go toe to toe with people for any length of time in the sense of service, like multiple years of dealing with shit. Frequently dealing with shit. You know, there are some people out there who've been in the field, but they were not the ones continuously getting into things. So I think that's important to note too, because there are some dummies out there who, you know, made it into the field and they didn't stay very long and they didn't really do a whole lot there, but they're able to make that claim to fame, so to speak, and they're able to take that and put it behind them and make it seem like what they're talking about with all this verbal judo is the way. It's not. I'm not saying that you cannot attempt it. I'm not saying it does not always work, or that it always works. It can be used. However, you have to have the backup plan that when your verbal attempts fail, you have to go physical. And going physical at the right moment can de-escalate a situation from becoming worse than what it is. He completely took the fight out of her in that instant. Could he have tried to grab her and start to put cuffs on her at that point, and then she's obviously not going to comply. She's going to start fighting. And then it's going to get, you know, into a tussle and blah, blah, blah. Or it could turn on to where if he doesn't do anything and just continues with the verbals, she continues to assault. And then by continuing to assault, she causes physical injury to him. Maybe even serious physical injury to him. So that one strike that he delivered properly de-escalated this situation and prevented it from going any further than what it needed to. So nothing wrong with what's going on here. Unfortunately, it's the anti-police people who are saying that this is wrong. And it's always the same people who are saying that things like this are wrong. The police are always wrong in what they do. These people are people who are prejudiced towards the police. They don't like police. Why? Because police stand in between them and anarchy. These people want to be able to do whatever they want to do without any repercussions. And the police are the ones who are there who give them those repercussions. They don't want them there. It's just like a bunch of kindergartners. If you gave the option to kindergartners to have a kindergarten teacher or not, there's quite a few that would choose not to have the teacher so they could just do whatever the hell they wanted to do during the day. If you gave them the option of the kindergarten teacher just being a maid and giving them the things they want, or being a leader and only giving them the things that they need, they're going to choose the maid who will give them everything they want and not just give them what they need. There are kindergartners out there who would demand it to drink 20 fucking juice packs and eat 10 pudding packs. And there's some who will throw a temper tantrum over the fact that you will not let them drink that much or eat that much. So this is what these kind of people are. They're like little kindergartners throwing temper tantrums, wanting to get their way. And they hate being told no. They hate being made not to do something. The no being backed up. They hate that there's consequences for their actions. This is why they don't like the police. They want complete fucking control over everything they do. They want complete anarchy. As I mentioned earlier, this is a very violent neighborhood. People get fucking beat, stabbed, and shot all the time in that neighborhood. Do you ever see these people in this neighborhood call those people out and say that they're being excessive in the force that they're using, that they're being brutal? No. Hell no, they don't. It's only the police they want to do this shit against. Why? Because the police stand in their way. Now, this neighborhood, as I said, very violent neighborhood. The way she is acting is actually kind of normal for that neighborhood. And what do I mean by that? The type of people that you find in these neighborhoods are completely different than people that you would find in gated communities or in upper class neighborhoods, subdivisions, suburban areas. Way different. What she was doing when she first came up and the way she was acting when she was basically told no, go away, she began to posture. And posturing is something that realistically everyone does it. It's just the level of intensity varies from area to area, so to speak. Even in the gated communities, there is posturing to some extent. It's not as very blatant or visual as this, but there is still some type of posturing that goes on. Humans are animals. I'm an animal, you're an animal. We've evolved. We are monkeys, right? We've evolved from a certain type of monkey over the millions of years and have become what we are, and we're continuing to evolve. All animals are kind of pretty much the same in the sense of their midbrain. Humans, the things that makes us different from the rest of the animals is our forebrain, our ability to, one, speak. That's the biggest thing that makes us different from the other animals. But the ability to draw and paint and write and sing and do all these different things that make us totally unique from other primates. Yeah, sure. There's been some chimpanzees and apes and shit who've been showing how to finger paint, but there's no fucking Picassos with the chimpanzees. I mean, it literally looks like a little kindergarten, kid has smeared paint on a fucking canvas. There's nothing intricate from the animals, wild animals. So our forebrain is what makes us unique. Over the millions of years of evolution and basically eating cooked food, our brains have gotten bigger and more powerful. However, our midbrain is still the same. Our midbrain is just like that of the ape and the chimpanzees and the dogs and all the other animals. That's kind of what leads us in our life. The 4 F's is what the midbrain is concerned about. And in no particular order, that's fight, flight, feeding, and fucking. You break it down, that's what all animals care about. To feed and to fuck, you have to be strong. The weak do not eat or mate. And so you have to be able to fight. Or flight really good to get away from the bigger animal that's going to eat you, so that you can continue to feed and fuck. With the fight, it's either literally actually physically fighting or posturing, acting like you're going to fight. Like dogs. You go to someone's house and the dog is just barking. That's posturing. If that dog really wanted to fight you, bite you, he would do it without barking. He'd just run up there and bite your ass. The dog don't want to get into a fight, just like any other human doesn't want to get into a fight. Getting into a fight increases your chances of being eaten or killed. So we posture. People in these neighborhoods, because of their living conditions, find themselves having to posture and fight a lot more than people in gated communities or upper class neighborhoods. Not saying that people, from gated communities and upper class, middle class neighborhoods don't fight and do this stuff and posture. Like I said, it all goes on to some extent, but in these neighborhoods where where the poverty is more obvious, the way of life is much tougher, the intensity of the fight is more visible. The intensity is higher. It's more visible. That's their way of life. That's how they have to do things. If you're in the ghetto, you're in the hood, you cannot appear to be weak. The weak animals are the ones who are preyed upon. They're the ones who get eaten. So you have to project this image of being tough in these kind of neighborhoods. And from time to time, you may have to show that you're tough. So what she is doing when she's doing this posturing is completely normal for her neighborhood. Because in a sense, people in her neighborhood act more closer to wild animals than domesticated animals. just like the difference between a house dog in a nice suburb versus a street dog that's had to survive. That house dog is going to be more friendly towards you. Most cases. That street dog is going to be very weary of other people. It's going to snarl and show its teeth and bark and posture. That's just the way it was brought up. So the way she's acting is kind of normal for her society, or not her society, but for her neighborhood. For the rest of civilized society, that shit's not normal. Like when people tell you no, you can't do something, normal civilized people do not act this way. But because this has been her upbringing, plus some other factors, this is how she acts. So what's these other factors involved? People not being able to learn their lesson is the gist of it. So public schools are a bad contributing factor to how more people think it's okay to act like this. So even people who have not been raised up in squalor, bad neighborhoods, some of them can still act this way. They can start getting loud and mouthy and start posturing. And some of the reasons why that happens is mostly it's their upbringing. So bad parenting or a lack of parents, especially when the parents have not been involved in their lives very much, and it's their grandparents who end up taking over care of them, or the fact that it's just a single mother only who is taking care of them. When you go look at the overwhelming majority of criminal offenders, you will see that there is an absence of a father figure in the household. A complete absence, like there is no steady father in their life as a child, or if there is a male biological father in their life, that person's more fucked up than a football bat and does not instill good traits in that person. They do not act as a father should. So it's their upbringing. They've gone without a father in their life, and then when they get into schools have become so out of touch with reality and so hands off that there's really no repercussions for the way a person acts in a school. Used to, the school would administer corporal punishment. I don't think there's any school that does that now. That's pretty much non-existent. Kids acting up, getting a paddling? No. To modern society, that's absurd thinking. That's barbaric thinking. That's child abuse. Like some people say it. And when you think about the household where there's an absence of a father figure, no ruling, no consequences going on at home, especially for boys. So boys, and this even goes for girls too, but it's mostly the boys since there's more boys involved in crimes and locked up. The boys go up to a certain age and mama says no, that means no. Only because they are so much smaller and weaker than mom. But when they get to a certain age and size where they can outpower mama's no longer means no. It's just a fucking suggestion at that point. That coupled with them going out doing what they want to do with their friends and with the schools, and I'll get that into the schools here in a second, They completely disregard mom and her wishes, and they do what the fuck they want. Mom ain't got the power, the physical power, to snatch their little ass up and spank the shit out of them. Or mom just doesn't do it. Or it's the grandparents, and they certainly do not have the physical capability of doing it. So there's that factor, the school factor. When you think about school, how long it is, from kindergarten to senior year, it's a long time. It's a long period of time. It's over a decade of bullshit learned behavior, essentially, that they're going through. And when you think about each day or each week, the amount of time that is put into school, it is like a job for kids. 40 hours a week they go to school. They're off during the summer, get a fall break, winter break. But other than that, they're in school. And in the schools, there is no corporal punishment. There is less expulsions being done. There are less harsher suspensions and penalties being done. And so they can go for over a decade doing almost damn near whatever the fuck they want to do. And there's no consequences to it. At least not in the sense of a teacher coming by and smacking the fucking shit out of them with a ruler, or their asses getting snatched up and getting a paddling. They can talk back to the teacher, cuss the teacher out, flip desks in the middle of the class, act a donkey. Nothing happens. They might get a detention day or something like that, maybe a couple day suspension. But when they get back home, there's no consequences for them from their mom or their grandparents. And it's funny to everyone that it goes on. And then, on top of that, the juvenile justice system is a complete and utter fucking joke. Juveniles are treated completely different than adults in court. There are some states that give automatic pretrial diversions for juveniles. Like here in Kentucky, juveniles in Kentucky get 3 automatic pretrial diversions for any misdemeanor and 1 automatic pretrial diversion for a felony. Doesn't matter what the fuck they did, it's automatic. Unless, for the felony, unless it's like a murder or a rape. Or it happens to involve them carrying a gun. That's when they kind of take it serious, just a little bit. Anything else, they don't give a shit. You break into a house and steal a bunch of jewelry and all kinds of other stuff, automatic pretrial diversion. The motherfuckers don't even go to detention when they get caught. To jail. Juvenile detention, juvenile jail. They don't even go there where they get caught the first time. Literally, you can have a juvenile break into someone's house, punch them in the face, take their watch and wallet off of them, steal some jewelry, and then get caught by the police with everything on them, and they will be released to their fucking guardians that same day, within an hour or so of them being caught. They will not go sit in a detention center. They might go sit at the police station, but they will never see the inside of a detention center. They'll get released to their guardians. They get, let's just say that this is their first time getting caught doing something. They get an automatic pretrial diversion. A person called a court-designated worker meets with them, and they may impose for them to write an apology letter, attend some type of anger management class, or some type of little seminar on why it's wrong to steal, like kiddie shit, right? And that's it. Nothing really happens to them. They all know this shit. The juvenile laws, when they were made in a time when things weren't necessarily like that. It was made for these stupid ass snot-nosed kids doing dumb shit like bashing mailboxes, maybe, stealing something, what have you, little stuff. It was not ever created in the realm of the time where there were masses of juveniles involved in gangs. Kentucky juvenile laws, most state juvenile laws, were not made when there was an abundance of juvenile gang members. So the laws are not set up to deal with little shitheads like that at all. Now, I can guarantee you she's probably been in some shit before as a juvenile. Would not be surprised at 19 she's already got some adult arrests or stuff like that. So the juvenile system is a joke. So from their earliest memory, for a lot of these people, their earliest memory, living with only mom or their grandparents, no father figure in their life, going through school where there's no real consequences, doing what they want, no real repercussions for it, nothing serious. If they do get caught up in the legal system in the juvenile world, nothing fucking serious, no real repercussions. Then they hit 18. They've gone from kindergarten to 18 with no real consequences. None whatsoever. And then when they do get into the adult world is changing, and it has become a joke. Adults are not held accountable the way they need to be held accountable. A lot of them are pre-trial diverted, released early on bond, put on probation. If they do go to prison, they don't do the full sentence. They get sentenced to 10 years, but they only do 5. They get out on good behavior, get out on parole, shock probation, shock parole, whatever. They make a plea deal. They have like 10 serious charges. They make a plea deal. They get 5 of those things knocked off, and the other 5 that they got are like the lesser of them all. So they got less time to do. All because the prosecutor don't want to do no fucking work and would rather wheel and deal to get this person to plead guilty so they can put a little notch on their belt, and at the end of the year they can say, well, I got these many guilty convictions this year. The motherfucker, no, you didn't. You did not honestly get all those convictions. It's not like you stood before a fucking jury and did your case. You suckered these people into pleading guilty by wheeling and dealing, taking serious charges off the fucking docket. That is a miscarriage of justice. So for people like this, their environment, their upbringing, where they're at, coupled with lack of proper parenting, lack of proper schooling, and a lack of proper adjudication of legal process, results in miscreants like this, oxygen thieves. They think that it's perfectly fine and acceptable to walk up to a group of police officers and then get physical with them. That's asinine. That's fucking crazy. And, well, I'll even throw this into there too. Modern day policing has taken a hit. I would not be surprised if she has acted like this before to some police officers and they didn't do a damn thing to her. Especially even as a juvenile, acted this way. And going back to the juvenile stuff. So, because the courts don't take stuff very serious with the juveniles, that ends up causing a lot of police officers just to say fuck it and not even do anything with the juveniles. Just let them go. Don't even try to cite them or arrest them because they know it's going to end up being nothing. They're just going to waste their time on it. So there's probably times where she has, as a juvenile, has done stuff that could have, if she was an adult, resulted in an arrest, but because she was a juvenile, the police didn't want to mess with her, and they just let her go. So you're not fucking get out of here. Even as an adult, there's some officers who just don't want to do any work. Some officers are afraid to do any work. They're afraid if they do their job and something happens, they're going to get fired. There's going to be some big scandal. They're going to be suspended, reprimanded, blah, blah, blah. And I'll back this up. And so there's all these people around who start congregating around and getting all super close and everything. Of course, his sister, when he was getting arrested, came up. These people coming up. Even the mayor himself, and I was completely shocked by this. The mayor of New York. Let me bring this article up. The mayor of New York supported this officer. And I was shocked by that. I'll be honest. I was completely shocked. I thought the mayor would have something, sideways to say about this, but he actually supported this officer. Let me see if I can bring that up. Or find where within this article it talks about it. Okay, so talks about the officers going there. All right, Mayor Eric Adams, who was questioned over the incident Thursday, put the blame on Miss Crum. All right, I can stand behind the mayor of New York on this. He's actually taking a stance and holding the criminals accountable. Man, keep that up, please. Your police need your support. So, Mayor Eric Adams, who was questioned over the incident Thursday, put the blame on Miss Crum. The young lady came, smacked a police officer. The police officer responded, the mayor said. They did what the system called for. They didn't turn off their body cameras. That's why we have footage of what happened. Mr. Adams ran on a promise to drive down crime without allowing the police to abuse civilians. His critics say he has emboldened police to be overly aggressive. Onlookers and family members frequently step in when police conduct arrests, sometimes violently, but often just to film the encounters. Mr. Adams, and I find it interesting that the journalist, instead of calling him Mayor Adams, is calling him Mr. Adams. Typically, someone of elected office like that is called a mayor, but they're being extra and going out of their way just to call him Mr. Mayor Adams has repeatedly called for people to watch from a distance. Police officers have a broad leeway to use force if they perceive a threat. And this is the journalist at New York Times talking on that. And I'll just end it at that because it kind of goes into liberal bullshit. But yeah, film from a distance. That's another thing that I see becoming a huge problem. Like they get her into cuffs and slide it down here. Like this dude, right fucking here. Like what in the hell is this dude doing so damn close? He's practically right up behind this police officer. Could very easily just reach and grab a gun off of him. And then this dude, so super close. Like, why? So this is a problem. And there was some place, I forget where it was, that they were going to enact some kind of law that says you have to be so many feet away from the police, or you have to follow the orders to stay away, or something like that. This behavior is only going on because there's nothing being done to these people about it. The police are just allowing them to get that close and do whatever the fuck they want to do. I see this becoming a problem, especially in very large areas like this, where all these people are going to be so close together is going to create a mob mentality, basically. They're all going to be close, and initially they'll just be filming, but they'll be heckling and instigating shit. But there are going to be so many of them together that it's going to pop off. They're going to start to get physical. They're going to start grabbing officers and ripping them away from the criminals. And this is on small scale has happened in some places where a small group of officers or maybe one or two officers is effecting an arrest and people are interfering with them and someone escaped. I forget where it was, but there's a video of it somewhere where that happened. But I see that being something that will start to happen more. People will start grabbing officers and ripping them off arrestees, giving those arrestees the opportunity to escape. So I think that more needs to be done to keep these people further back. And I completely agree with the First Amendment. They have a right to film whatever is going on in a public space. However, safety needs to come into mind. You may have a right to film, but you don't have a right to be that fucking close. This is effectively a crime scene now. Let's say they go to a store. It's a crime scene. There's been a murder, a robbery. Police say, hey, you can't go inside. Get back. Someone goes inside. Well, they can be arrested for that. I see no difference in this. This block right here, where they've arrested this guy for attempted murder, and he's got a gun on him and drugs, and now her coming up and acting this way, this is a crime scene. Some evidence could have been thrown from this guy, or fallen off this guy, or fallen off her. And these people coming up into this crime scene could take those pieces of evidence. So when these people are told to get back and they don't get back, something needs to be done to them. Their asses need to be snatched up and taken to jail. Because all this is doing, by not doing anything, is making it to them that it's perfectly acceptable to get within 2 fucking feet on an officer's back. No, that's unacceptable. Should not be that close during a high, stressful situation like this. This is going to end up starting this practice of not doing anything to people is going to lead to people getting hurt and or killed. Inaction is just as bad as too much action. What's the opposite of excessive force? I don't know. I can't think of a good word for it. But there is an opposite of excessive force. Not using anything at all. But yeah, not much else to say on this. Like I said earlier, this is the true definition of fuck around and find out. You come up and you get in somebody's face and you act aggressive, you act hostile, you're being disorderly and acting menacingly. Your body language when you do that is saying, I'm going to fight you. The words did not come out of her mouth. They came from her body. She was saying, I'm going to fight you. And when she struck that officer, she said it even louder. That officer responded appropriately, and he shut her down. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.